So when you're looking at an organization that you've done all this research and you've seen these case studies that has a clear purpose, how does that show up in the way that they're communicating about that? What are the, because you can have something on the wall, or the founder or CEO can have that written and it's in a drawer somewhere. But what are the critical pieces of making sure that purpose is infused into the organization appropriately in a way that actually manifests as more productivity, more profit, et cetera?
Yeah, this is a great question. It's really central to the research I've done for the last 10 years. So thank you for this question.
A little underhanded pitch here. Good.
Yeah, I'll try to narrow it down to a less than 10-year answer. So it's so interesting when you think about how do you articulate, how do you actually execute purpose that goes beyond profit, right? What does that look like? And, the older models, the focus, resources were really scarce. Money was scarce. Labor was plenty. And land was plenty. And now we live in a world where, thanks to Bitcoin, it seems like we're just creating new currencies.
Everyone's going to have Bitcoin and live on Mars if this keeps scaling out the way it's trending.
Exactly. Yeah. And we're going to have robots because labor's now scarce and land's now scarce. We need to go to Mars to get land and use robots for labor.
I'm not going, but they can. My grandkids can.
Yeah, I'm not going to go either. So in the meantime, I think what we can do is, in order to kind of infuse purpose, it's a lot of socialization. And a lot of times when we talk about like employee engagement and all of that, we think like within my company, like if you're the leader of the company, how do I engage my employees? How do I get this culture, this purpose infused in my own organization? But in my book, I talk a little bit about this. Profit is a starting line in business. It's the standard.
Profit is a starting line.
It's a starting line.
Meaning like permission to play.
Right. You're not in business if you aren't profitable in some capacity, wherever that profit comes from. You still have to have more than you spend, or you won't be in business long. And so that's kind of the starting point. But then once you start looking at branding and reputation, this is where purpose really comes into play. And I think reputation and branding, depending on like if you're more marketing oriented or supply chain, you look at them differently. But so now instead of just looking at the culture within your company and your employees, now you need to think about how does our purpose impact our customers? How does our purpose align with our suppliers and the other companies we're working with? So this is the challenge as you grow as a company. Like you start out, maybe you're a one-person shop and you're just thinking about like, how can I create this great product that's going to change the world and make some money? And then you have employees and you're like, how do I get my employees excited about this purpose so they can make this great product that's going to, make money? And then you're like, well, now it's changing my customers' lives. Now I actually have some, agency to impact my suppliers, and so it kind of has to grow across your entire supply chain.
Talk about a company whose purpose may not be as obvious for why their purpose matters to their customers. Because with Dave Ramsey and what we do here at EntreLeadership, a lot of people go, well, obviously you guys have this mission, you're changing lives. The very product that we're putting out is a mission, purpose-driven thing that intersects in people's lives. It gives them hope. There's a very emotional side of this thing. But if you're doing lawn care, or if you're doing something that's more of a consumer service, that's like it's not as clearly missional in that way. What companies have you seen that have connected purpose to not just themselves and their team, but actually the customers in a way that shows up the way you're talking about?
Yeah, this is one of the advantages of doing all applied research, where I get to work with a lot of companies and explore how do you do this? And it's been interesting. A lot of the companies we've worked with tend to be in the southeast of the U.S., where there's, some more overt, faith and those sorts of things are a little bit more...
Kind of the Bible Belt a little bit.
Kind of the Bible Belt. But, we've worked in mining companies. We've worked in HVAC distribution companies. We've worked with, companies that create candles and scents. And, across all of those organizations, they have purpose beyond, obviously, just delivering screens to mines. And really where you see their purpose come through, they are delivering really quality products to the market and meeting a customer, like a market need. But a lot of their purpose actually is around the culture of the company, how they treat their employees, the things that they sow into their communities in terms of, not just like philanthropy, but also building programs and developing skills and, looking at where do we have value beyond just our central product. that can be an opportunity to really serve and give back to people.
Yeah.
And so we've seen it, I think about like the logistics industry, and you're talking about your friend in the 3PL industry.
I love how big you smile when you say logistics.
It is. I mean, I can't believe more people don't know all about it. It is the best.
I'm happy that you're happy about it. Let's put it that way.
And this is the year that I get to launch a supply chain program and in Nashville, Tennessee. Life is good. But in the logistics industry, if you think about even the 3PL space, third-party logistics providers, and the service that they provide really has an awesome purpose. You think about small companies that can't get good rates. If they're working with FedEx Freight or UPS Freight, they're the smallest players. So FedEx and UPS are going to bring in their top companies, like 100 companies that probably make up 90% of their revenue. So if you're the other 15,000 of their customers,
you're the bottom of the total.
You have no negotiation power. You're just going to get you might as well be one of us just shipping a package.
So in that case, a 3PL whose purpose is to help this more mid-tier group of companies, it's like they're really advocating in a way that a different, like FedEx or whoever can't. There's a passion, there's a drive. It's like the founders see something in the market where these guys are the underdog and we're going to go do something about it.
Yeah, and those underdogs are making products that we want access to. So it does get, obviously, I could give you really exciting 3PL logistics examples, but where there is, obviously they need to be profitable in it, but they're also doing something that's helping other companies and really helping consumers.
Say more about how purpose, when you get to profit that's above operational, the bills are paid, the team's paid, we're able to do annual increases, the owners are starting to make, a little bit beyond what just their basic needs. It seems like your purpose will really, or your absence of a purpose will really inform what you do with surplus profit.
Absolutely. I love this. And there's this ancient example of, what are some of the roles that excess profit can have. So there's this concept of gleaning in the agricultural world of the ancient Near East. And, you have your field, you build your crops, and then at the end of the year, you harvest all the crops that you need for your household. And they would have margin around the edge of their field that was excess crops that they actually didn't need for their household. And so this would be, I like to think about it like this is the agricultural version of profit margin today. And so with this
surplus.
It's their surplus. And they had this concept of gleaning so that the poor and the needy in the community could come in and work and glean the leftover sheaves for themselves. And I love this picture because, obviously, I guess they could have harvested that wheat for somebody else. Or for themselves for next year. I'm not sure what else you do with leftover agricultural products.
Well, if you're thinking we just got to top off our silo,
right? Yeah.
If that's topped off, we got to build another silo. If you have kind of a hoarder mindset as the owner of that field, it's all about more silos getting full, and it's not getting back into the community that other people can take advantage of that.
Exactly. So do you need safety stock or do you need help the people around you?
Yeah.
Right. And so I love that idea because it's been around for 3,000 years and it definitely shows up in the wisdom literature. So I think today when you look at your profit, you've paid your bills, you have margin. Hallelujah. You get to stay in business.
Which is a big feat. Not everybody makes it to that point.
This is so true. We kind of take it for granted as business professors because we work with profitable
successful
firms.
Ones. Yeah, right.
Because they can pay us to come and do research with them. And so, obviously they have excess profit they can share with us too. So I'm grateful for that. But, we actually worked with one company and they had bigger growth than they had projected. And so they got to the end of the year and they said, wow, we have much, much more profit than we anticipated. And, they had investors and they went to their investors and said, we could just, kind of pocket this, or we could start this whole program for our employees and actually agreed together to, instead of kind of pocketing that money, or they were going to invest it in people.
To be generous
and to really engage their employees. So not only does it all of a sudden make their employees feel more engaged, but then their productivity goes up. And so I think there's something about generosity that feeds generosity. So when you're generous, it's almost like the person you're generous now has license to be generous with the next person. And that's a pretty cool thing to feed within companies.